Today on Hampton Roads Business Weekly, it's all about food, from donuts to cupcakes to chocolate.
We hope you're hungry because Hampton Roads Business Weekly starts right now.
Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Cheryl Tan.
And I'm Zach Miller. Welcome to Hampton Roads Business Weekly, a weekly look at the businesses and entrepreneurs making an impact right here in Hampton Roads.
This week we're looking at the business of food, starting with Just Cupcakes. I spoke with owner Carla Hesseltine about how she started her business as a stress-relieving hobby that turned into a full-fledged company. So thrilled to be in Virginia Beach Town Center at Just Cupcakes with owner Carla Hesseltine. Carla, thanks so much for letting us inside.
Thank you all so much for coming.
Giving us a tour. It's beautiful in here.
Thank you.
You've been in business since 2009.
Yes.
And I'd love to hear about your journey, how you started this business and what it's been like over the last few years as you've grown this company.
We have been really fortunate, and I've always loved to bake. Since I was a little, just like every other little girl, I loved to bake with my grandmother and mother, and it was something I did to relieve stress. I was in advertising and design, and as you know, that can be a very stressful business, so I would bake to relieve stress, but I was always really good at it, and always wanted to learn more. So when I started Just Cupcakes, it seemed like the perfect business for me. It would be a small mom and pop business. My children had grown up and gone, and I could sell cupcakes. I could have coffee. Mainly, it was a place for me to chat with other people. And then it took a life of its own and grew.
In 2009, the field was much different. There were a lot of cupcake companies, it seems. It was kind of the trend.
Yes.
And in 2016, there are not as many. The trend has died off just a little bit. How have you survived? How have you been able to morph, change, do whatever you needed to do to survive in this industry?
Well, I think when I started the business, I never thought about it being a trend business and what could happen with that. I looked at it like the donut shop. While there's always you can buy donuts anywhere, there's only one of a certain type of a Krispy Kreme or whatever donut place. So I always thought that cupcakes had a place in there, that while others would come and go, that there was always going to be a place now for this new category of cupcake. It's a singular, nostalgic treat.
People may recognize you not only around Hampton Roads, but around the country. You've been on Food Network an amazing 4 times.
Yes.
What was that experience like, and how did you get the attention of the producers there?
A lot of it was, I think a lot of it had to do also with marketing. When we opened the business and with the business plan, I knew this is what I want everything to look like. This is what it has to taste like. This is what I want to do with Facebook, with Instagram, with Twitter, and we were able to develop a large following. So currently we have around 18,000 people.
Pretty good.
So actually the producers contacted me. I didn't apply. They contacted me because they saw us on social media, and actually it was the first year we actually opened that they contacted us, and I turned it down. I turned it down because we were a new business, and I was afraid of what it could do to the business.
Gotcha.
I wanted to be able to control the growth of a business. So we waited, and then it was season 3, the first time that we were on, and they called again, and I said, I think I'd like to. We did a demo video for them, and I'll never forget that day. I had to pull over because I was so excited when they called back and said, we want you. How quick, we want you. And then they wanted me again, and then again, and then again, and they were terrific episodes, and they were terrific times and terrific people. And I really took it all in stride and had fun with it.
People at home will be thinking, well, how do I get that? How did you make that happen? How do those opportunities show up at your door?
I read. I read, I look, I read a lot of business journals. I will say we had a great business plan. I work that plan constantly. I had mentors. I have business mentors. I have baking mentors. I have a team of trusted people that I do things with. And And I work it. I know that if you're using Instagram, the best time to post is at 5 o'clock in the evening or 7 o'clock in the morning, that this is the filter you should use. These are the hashtags you should use. You learn these things and you implement. You make a plan, you implement it, you measure it, and you follow through.
Consistency.
Absolutely.
Carla, congratulations and thanks so much
Thank you
for
so much
sharing
for
your
coming
story
in.
with us.
Thank you.
We're back with more Hampton Roads Business Weekly. Opening a second location could mean a big boon to your business. I talked with Hunter Davis of Duck Donuts about knowing the right time to expand. Hunter Davis, Duck Donuts, excited to be here. So you guys have expanded and done multiple locations now. How do you know when it's the right time to do that? How do you check your books, understand that there's enough money that the banks are going to be good for you? How do you understand that kind of process?
Well, we're fortunate to have a lot of differing viewpoints, a lot of differing opinions on when to go, and usually the answer is somewhere in the middle. I'm typically I'm the no guy, typically, yeah. But in general, I mean, it's when we're all comfortable with it. But I think also too, you can have as much money to do any location, but if you don't see that there's going to be the immediate turnaround and start getting customers in, then it's not going to be there. So that's one of the things that we're looking at. We look at, in addition to looking at the bank, we're also looking at the location. We're trying to check the traffic that's going through a certain area, because that's we have a product that people can get and kind of be on the go, you know. So that's something that we're looking at too.
What type of data points do you look at? We're on a very busy Virginia Beach Boulevard right here.
Sure.
What are the numbers that you're looking for that, and how do you understand how much of them can come into you?
I mean, as much as I am a data guy, a lot of too where I like to look at things is from the perspective of just eye shot. I start seeing a lot of cars going down the street, and I start seeing people walking past here. You know, I could do as much research as I want to, but if I see people walking past, I have a rough indication that that's probably going to be a good spot for it. Also looking at, you know, places, we have a family-based product, so we're looking for families and things like that, because kids, they love to come watch all this stuff. They love to look at through the glass and see everybody making it. It's a fun thing, you know. So that's another thing that we look at too.
What type of marketing do you do? So let's say the traffic's good, you like the location. How do you actually bring them in? How do you kind of close the sale and say, hey, Duck Donuts is here, and we
do some radio advertisement. We do some print advertisements. So, for example, down at the oceanfront, we do a lot of, there's a lot of these pamphlets, that are brochures and stuff like that are in the hotel rooms, that are when you get your key card and things like that. So we try to get people who have, haven't ever tried the product before, never even heard of the product before, let them see it. So we happen to have a high tourist market here,
Sure.
So that's a key too, along with families and things like that. We have people who've never had it before, and they see something down there, and hey, that sounds really good for breakfast, So
how do you track that the oceanfront was better than maybe downtown or the peninsula or something like that? How do you understand that person's coming from one of those
where
areas?
they're coming from? I mean, that's a little bit hard to necessarily say for each customer. We're not asking everybody, hey, where are you from, whatnot. Yeah. But a lot of times, like I said, we find out a lot of that from things that we get online, emails and whatnot. People saying, hey, come here. So that's that kind of gives us a little indication of where people are coming from. But we don't ask people at the register.
You were looking a few years ago to maybe start a business. Sure. You decided to go into franchising, the franchise model. How did you decide that franchising was what you wanted to do?
For myself, my father and brother, I don't know that franchising necessarily was the only avenue that we were looking at, but seeing what they had, seeing this model, I mean, I can hardly boil water myself. Yeah. So seeing people who know how to do the restaurant business and do it effectively, that definitely, sold us to some degree. But I think that you're starting to see, I think one of that's interesting with Duck Donuts is you're starting to see this kind of movement in the market towards back towards mom and pops. You know what I mean? You had over the years, you had a lot of the big box places kind of putting out the mom and pop places. And now you're starting to see mom and pops coming back, but operating with good business models.
Right.
I think that's actually the future. You see places like Tivana that are specialty shops, things like that. I think that's the way the market's heading.
So really creating the playbook or the franchise model around the mom and pop shop, but how you can figure that out at every different location.
Yeah, that was one of the things with talking with the people who founded Duck Donuts. They were very, very customer oriented. They didn't want to do the digital touchscreens. They wanted to be interactive with the people, that kind of mom and pop type thing. And I mean, it started as a mom and pop thing. It's growing quickly though.
If someone was watching and on the fence about maybe getting into a franchise, what would you say to them?
I would say go for it. I mean, that's the American dream, is to go into business and try and succeed. Try and fail, but try and succeed if you can, and give it all you got.
Hunter Davis,
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
We have more Hampton Roads Business Weekly coming up, but first, we'd love to hear from you. So if you have questions or comments during the show, you can tweet us at HRBizWeekly. We're back after the break. Brenda Tusing, co-owner of the Royal Chocolate in Virginia Beach. Thanks so much for inviting us into your store.
Oh, thank you for being here this morning.
I don't know if my crew and I will leave. It smells
That's
so
okay.
good in
We're
here.
open till 9. You've got plenty of time.
Your partner in crime, Terry Reston, is floating around. She is training a new chocolate maker, which I think is so much fun, and we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
I want to discuss, though, how you got your start in business.
Well, in this business, Terry and I opened this store 10 years ago, this year actually, so it's a big anniversary for us. We'll be doing a little celebration. But we started much before we actually opened the doors. We started talking about what to do. Chocolate had come up and looked at a franchise actually in the beginning, but decided we really didn't want to be a franchise. We wanted to be more independent than that, to do our own thing. We traveled around, we went to New York, we went to shows, just read a lot about what do we want to incorporate into this space.
So talk about some challenges, as people might not think that there are challenges in the chocolate business, but the recession hit.
Yeah.
And it affected so many companies, and I know it had to have affected yours as well.
It did. It did affect everybody, and we were very new just in the first few years, and what we found immediately was corporate business kind of went away, because when corporate is looking at gifting, and we do beautiful gifting, that's their first line item to go. You know, if you're going to have to let go of an employee or not do your gifting, what are you going to do? So it was a pretty easy choice for them, I'm sure, but it was a very difficult choice for us.
You're training a new chocolate maker.
We are.
Sounds very exciting.
It is.
But it also means you're growing and bringing new people into the fold.
Sure.
So talk a bit about how you bring new people into the Royal Chocolate family.
Well, it always starts, initially with the hiring practice, the filling out of the application. We do not have applications online, for example. We want people to come into the store and fill out an application because we want that face-to-face, and we really want it to get a little bit of a sense of how does that person present themselves? Do they interact with you well? Do they make eye contact? Those little basic things that you want to see in a person. They fill out an application. Of course, we're looking for availability and that sort of thing. And then Terry does really all of the hiring and the interviewing. It's a process that she goes through. She takes a great deal of time with it. If the candidate looks and seems to be like somebody that would work here, she would go ahead with an interview process with them. We do a test as part of our interview process. It's a skills test. It's been very accurate in helping us pinpoint certain things about people, but at the end of the day, we need someone who loves working here, loves interacting with people, and has that spirit of wanting everybody who leaves our store to be happy. Happy with what they purchased, happy with their experience. You want them to be able to share chocolate with them, help them find new things. It's a lot of fun, but you have to have that enthusiasm for it. You can't hire someone to stand at the register and just make the exchange of product and money. That is absolutely not what we're about.
You've created a wonderful, sweet world.
Yeah.
Any last words of advice for entrepreneurs who want to create something of their own, a business of their own?
I think you have to really have a passion for it. You have to really want to do it. You can't think, well, that would be kind of cool to do. Yeah, it might be cool to do, but it's going to be a lot of work. And the hard thing is going to be letting people know that you're there, especially a brick and mortar. Businesses that don't have the brick and mortar can go out into the community, which we do as well, and network and that sort of thing. But it's going to be a little trickier when you're brick and mortar. And you've got to you've got to find creative ways to let people know you exist. Yeah, and talk to other entrepreneurs, because truthfully, we have a lot of experience now, and we would love to share that with people, anybody.
People, I'm sure, will love to hear that. Brenda, thank you so much, and
Thank you, Cheryl.
congratulations
Thank
on
you.
your milestone here.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back. All right, we're going to move away from food and talk about developing new ideas, doing it fast and doing it cheap. I spoke with Tao Tang, an MBA student at Regent University, about how when it comes to developing everything from a business plan to a new product, to just keep it simple. All right, Tao, a lot of people think that when they start a business, they should put together a huge 200-page document, a business plan, do all those things. But you believe in and are following kind of a new method where you're really kind of just getting a prototype out there and learning from that. Tell us kind of how that process works.
Sure. I would call that paper prototype. So to make it as simple, as easy as possible. So there's several reasons for doing that. Like a paper prototype basically is, you use the resources you have at hand and to build the minimum viable product. And you can make it very ugly. You can make it, extremely simple. You can just, put up different, sticky notes together just to show people what the idea and the prototype is. And then in that way, that will be very easy to get, feedbacks from other people. It will be easy for, customers to critique.
So a lot of people they think everything has to be polished though. And by putting something together that's ugly,
Right.
How can I get around that instead of really learning from that kind of process?
Right. So ugly products has several perks. One is affordable. You can afford to fail. And I really believe in bootstrapping, especially when you're a solo or 2 to 3 people work together. It's very important. Like every single penny counts. So that is, if you fail, it's affordable. And also the second thing is, when you put up a very ugly prototype, that really open a door to honesty. Your customers, when you do your customer feedback and ask them questions, they would be, more easy to critique and give you feedbacks. Certain things I like, certain things I don't like. If it's a polished product, maybe sometimes people will hold back a little bit, don't want to critique if something look already done.
A lot of people say, I'm going to be the next Facebook, or I'm going to be the next Twitter, I'm going to be the next big thing. But they think of them today instead of where they were maybe years ago. How do they really figure out what the core is from the MVP? And you said MVP is the minimum viable product. So
Right.
What is an MVP, and how do they understand and figure out what that core is
Sure.
to then develop off it?
Oh, exactly. MVP is, you have this product and deliver the most essential function in order to, deliver the original purpose of the product, right? So, one example we can think about right now is Amazon. From the very beginning, Amazon is very specific, only selling books. So the thing is, for a startup company, it's very important to focus and get that one feature right and get it quickly done. That's why we need an ugly prototype or paper prototype or minimum viable product to test in the market and get that feedback from the customers. And when that part is done, and you can expand more, build more other features which you can afford to develop. I think it's good to have that big vision in mind, to dream big, but really to start very small, very tangible way.
So once someone has developed this prototype, how do they quantify that something was a success or not? Are they looking for a specific data point? Does it have to be cash? And how do they really understand and learn from the prototype? I mean, so if the next step is to, they think it went well and then, grow from it and actually put some polish on it, but how do they understand what data point to kind of follow?
Sure, it's a validating learning process. I think it really depends on the product you're talking about. If it's a feature that, if it's online feature or application that you can see, how much the data would be to look at, it's your, the customer, how many customers are using that, how often are they using that, and also the feedbacks. And also it could be, very qualitative as well. You can just, when you ask your customers and, they can give you feedback, certain things, the colors they don't like, if it's a tangible product, the colors that they like and the shape and other things.
So it's really about getting as much customer feedback as possible before you invest that kind of time, infrastructure, resources to go down a path to find out that, 1% of what you put together was all that people care about. This other 99% that you're about to spend a lot of money on, no one really cares about, so you don't lose money, you don't waste money, resources.
Exactly. And very often, there's a lot of surprises as you develop the product all along the way, because sometimes you think, you come up with a very good idea. I think this feature is just awesome, it's fantastic in your head, but it might not appeal to a group of people. And sometimes unintentional features, they might be appeal to a larger group of people. So I think the only way really to know is to develop quickly in a very cheap and affordable way and throw it in the market and see what actually customer like. Let them vote, let them pick.
So think small, think dirty, MVP, get the prototype out there so that you can ultimately save a lot of time and money and resources. Tao Tang, in a lab, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That wraps up another edition of Hampton Roads Business Weekly. Like us on Facebook and Instagram at HR Business Weekly.
There, you will find segments from previous shows, plus some great behind-the-scenes pictures and videos. For Hampton Roads Business Weekly, I'm Zach Miller.
And I'm Cheryl Tan. We'll see you next week.
Hampton Roads Business Weekly, sponsored by Regent University and produced by ABC 13.